Oh, yes, Shirley's on.
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's a blurry picture of me. Is that okay?
It's
Of
all right,
course.
Shirley. We'll manage it, love. It's fine. How are you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm all in a tether. You're trying to get onto this Zoom call.
Oh, please don't, sweetie. Please don't. Everybody, it's Shirley Lloyd, albeit through a haze, but her message is much more important.
It's Shirley de Bono.
Oh, why does it say Shirley Lloyd on your email, Shirley?
That's my email.
Ah,
Shirley
okay,
Lloyd.
fine. Shirley
Yeah.
de Bono, which sounds very pop starish, actually. So as I said, Shirley's following Charlotte Benjamin, IPP last week. We were all pretty horrified. Lots of people found out about it for the first time. And Shirley has been running a campaign for 10 years. Shirley, why?
More than 10 years. My own son, Sean Lloyd, was sentenced to an IPP. He committed his offence November 2005. He was sentenced on the 6th of January 2006 to a 2.5-year tariff. They added the IPP sentence. We had no idea what that was. I was expecting Sean to do 2.5 years tariff and be released. He didn't get released, and I thought, oh, perhaps they're making you do the whole 5 years. 5 years went by and still he didn't get out, and that's when we realised that at that point that he was sentenced to a life sentence through the back door. And then still at that point, we don't know where to go for help. We don't know what doors to knock on. You know, you go to your MP don't know what the IPP sentence is. The barrister that sentenced him, when I went back to him, didn't know what it was. So it was like a lot of researching, and I didn't know how to research because I had no idea how to use a laptop. I had no internet or anything like that in them days.
Yeah, it's barbaric. For those who don't know, it's an indeterminate prison sentence. It was introduced by Home Secretary David, forgotten his name. Yeah, that's it. And but abolished in 2012. So we're talking 10 years on. There are prisoners still imprisoned under this prison sentence. And I noticed on your website, Shirley, it talked about 73 people who have taken their lives who are subject to this. And I mean, that's horrendous.
Yeah, there's no mention, there's no data of those that have committed suicide in the community, or even those that have died through ill health. As they do in prison, they die of ill health. Jamie Turner had a heart attack. He was supposed to be released late last year. The hostel place was cancelled by probation, which kept him in prison longer. And he died in custody in a prison cell all alone. Had he have been sent to a hostel, he may have died with his family around him, holding his hand, you know, and, you know, not being found in the morning in the cell on the floor. So they don't really keep the data of those that are released from prison and maybe die from ill health. As I know of one lad that got released. He got injured while he was serving an IPP within the prison system, and he ended up paralysed. He couldn't walk and he was in a wheelchair. He was released, and 2 years after release, his legs were amputated through ill health. He was going downhill and he passed away. You know, the sentence, it takes your life, whether you take it yourself or whether the ill health that it causes, it takes lives. You know, it's taken hundreds.
Including family. Sean, you were horrified to discover it last week, weren't you?
I'm morning, Shirley. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I am so surprised. I've never heard of this until last week, and I think that just proves how little information there is about this kind of stuff. Because obviously, this must have all been passed and kind of cancelled when I was still in high school, so I was oblivious to kind of it all. And you know, there's hundreds of people still be kept behind bars because of this law that was even abolished. And like, for something that you probably shouldn't have even been in there longer than 2 years, 4 years tops.
Right.
It's the sentence that the government wanted kept brushed under the carpet. They do not want the public to know that they're keeping your Wayne Bells, who punched someone and stole his bike. My own son, that's done a street robbery of a mobile phone with no street violence. Of Mohammed, that picked up a laptop off the floor, which should have been a charge of theft, not robbery. And he's still locked up 17 years later, been recalled 3 times. But it is a sentence that the government, they hate us campaigners. We're getting it out there. We're protesting. We've got our websites up and running. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we're getting it out there. And the government, whenever they highlight a case, it's, you know, it's like your John Warboys. He was going to be released, and there was a big campaign to keep him inside. And me as a campaigner, your John Warboys is a dangerous criminal that deserved the IPP sentence, and that's who the IPP sentence was meant for. People like him, paedophiles, perpetrators of sexual violence, terrorists. But because it wasn't implemented properly, your James Woods, he's another IPP. James Woods, he was sentenced to an IPP. He should never have got it. You know, there's so many, hundreds and hundreds, and well, thousands. They were only expecting around 800 IPP prisoners that should have got this sentence, but because it wasn't implemented properly, judges were dishing it out like candy. You know, and you know, the least sentence was 28 days, of which the young man served 11 years.
Oh God! So your mission, okay, of the IPP Committee in Action is to end the injustice of the indeterminate sentence. How are you going about that?
Well, we're protesting, we're writing to ministers, you know, we're getting it out there into the media. Public awareness is the most important, because that's the people we need on our side. You know, so when the government comes out with the dangerous cases like John Warboys, they sort of educate and brainwash the public into believing that nearly, you know, 9,000 IPPs are the same category as him. Well, they're not. They're not. And we're out there to educate the public, to say there is a massive injustice here with the IPP sentence, and the government needs to get to grips with it.
Yeah, and the UK nation need to know about it more.
Yeah,
they do. They need to know about it. You know, like you got your Mohammed Sulis. He stole a laptop off the floor belonging to someone that was sat next to it back in 2005. He's been released 3 times, but because of the sentence and keeping him in prison years over tariff, he's now got mental health illness. And the 3 times he's been out of prison, he has had a mental breakdown. Oh, God. On release, if you have a mental breakdown, you're going back to prison indefinitely with no treatment for that mental health.
It's a sentence hanging over you.
Yeah, so the last time he was released and had a mental breakdown was 4 years ago. So he's been in prison in HMP Swaleside, not getting a proper mental health care, you know, to help him to release again. He's married, not married, sorry, he's got a partner, Bernadette. He's got 2 girls, one's 17. And when he was released, obviously, they had another child. She's now 8. Whilst he's been inside on this recall, he had a letter from the Home Office threatening him with deportation back to Somalia. He was brought here as a refugee from war-torn Somalia back in 1993. Most of their family, their grandma, they all got killed over there. His mum brought him to Britain, and he's been settled just since he's a young, you know, a toddler. And he met Bernadette, you know, and they had their first child. He did this theft, which he was charged for robbery, and I can't understand to this day how you can pick something off the floor and be charged with a robbery. It's theft. Yeah, but that's cleared up at the moment. But the fright that his partner went through trying to find out why are they deporting him to a country that he don't know nobody, and you know he hardly speaks the language, got no family there. But that is sorted now. But that was so frightening. That was just early this year that they were going through that.
Yeah.
you know.
It's
So-
insane. What we'll do, Shirley, is we'll put a link to your campaign in the description. We're going to keep highlighting this because it's insane and it's barbaric and it's wrong and it has to stop. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on, Sean.
If there's I saw on the website, if there's any more protests as well, do let us know.
Mm.
There will be, well,
Yeah.
there's we're waiting for the Justice Select Committee to come out with their report and recommendations to the Ministry of Justice. But if there is no recommendation to re-sentence all IPPs, then anything less is a waste of time.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
going to help those that have never got out. It's not going to help them. So either way, there's going to be another protest in September, yet to be organised.
Okay.
Well, let us know about it,
Yeah.
Shirley. Everybody, Shirley Lloyd from the IPP Committee in Action, and she needs our support.
Shirley De Bono. Shirley De Bono.
Oh, I'm doing it again, aren't I? Oh, I'm so sorry, Shirley. It's lovely to talk
okay.
to you, Shirley De Bono.
Even through a hazed screen,
Yes.
your words came through then, Shirley.
Absolutely, they did. Take good care
Even
of
more
yourself,
powerful.
Shirley.